HighBridge, a division of Recorded Books, presents Free Your Joy, The 12 Keys to Sustainable Happiness by Lisa Mccourt, read by Lisa Mccourt. To my joy anchors, Katie, Talia, and David. Forward. As one who initially felt resistance to the hype around ideas of vibration and manifestation, I must admit that after reading Free Your Joy, I am coming away with a completely different feeling about these universal laws. Lisa is a genuine advocate for joy, and after reading her book and getting to know her, I would in fact suggest she is a walking and talking embodiment of it and all she teaches. She is so loved and esteemed for all the light she brings to the world. From the first time I met her, I was quietly enraptured in her bright energy and just simply struck by the buoyant ambiance she so effortlessly exudes. I went away from our first meeting so impacted by her presence that I wondered two things. Was she too good to be true? And if she was the real thing, how did she do it? How did she embody with such vibrancy something I'm always looking for more of? Through our budding friendship, I have been entirely persuaded that she is indeed the real thing, and by reading her book, I now know how she has done it. As Lisa so poignantly writes in the first key, you can only heal you by loving you better. All her keys exude this truth that it is the only way to truly locate your joy, your potential, your magic, and your well-being. Lisa became the force of joy that she is through her commitment to these keys and to learning how to love herself better. And she will help you do the same. Lisa's reflections and comprehensive framework for manifesting joy in your heart, mind, and life comprise a wonderful and meticulous voyage into what I believe is the very fabric of the universe. Love. It is all love. The joy-seeking, the practicing, the kerklunks, I love that word, the observing, the insightful referencing and shout-outs to other writers and thinkers, the skill developing, the manifesting, the flowing, the embracing, the vertical living, all of it. You might question whether what Lisa is suggesting is too good to be true as well. And in the same breath I can verify Lisa and the sustained sparkle in her eyes is all genuine and true, so too is her map for sustainable happiness. It's real. The life you so deeply want is available to you, and the way toward it is through joy. The kind of sturdy and practical joy and self-love that shines through all the instructions in this book. Lisa answers all the how-to questions that might crop up with logical, thorough, and inspired explanations. I agree wholeheartedly with her suggestion that you work at these ideas over the same generous period of time that you would give to any skill you want to develop. But it's almost like she's in your mind, ready for any questions or resistance that might emerge as you take her hand as your guide. She writes like she's walking right by your side, gently whispering that you can do this for your life, that you are worthy of the joy of your deepest dreams, that you are going to surprise yourself and will eventually make the good stuff happen. Having been on my own self-love path of sorts for over 10 years, and having been on the lookout for any opportunity to garner more joy in recent ones, I have finished this book reminded of why I love this journey of homecoming so much, and with new perspectives on concepts that are also fundamental in my own life and work. I never thought I would connect the dots like Lisa's words have guided me to do. I never thought I would ever learn about one's vibration described in such a loving and integrative manner. But I am now ready for joy to come alive for me in a new way. If you have chosen this book, then I imagine you are ready for that too. S.C. Lowry, The Power of Mess. Acknowledgements. I owe a tremendous debt of gratitude to the teachers I've had throughout the many spirals of my journey, both the official and unofficial ones. Many are in these pages, and many more are written into the pages of my heart. Thanks to my created family of heart sisters and heart brothers cheering me on, I have found the courage to pull all the weird-seeming little threads that have led me right here. I'm also mightily grateful to Christine Balearis and all the other talented HCI people who had a hand in bringing this offering to life, as well as to my much-loved Joy Schoolers who helped shape its contents and from whom I continue to learn every day. I was able to write this book from the coziest happy place I could ever imagine writing from because I'm blessed beyond measure by my huge-hearted husband David and my remarkable daughters Talia and Katie. They provide, simply with their presence, my joy sanctuary of creativity and bliss. And finally, I thank my cherished helpers from the other side, Polly Hogan and Betty Mccourt, for their generous and ongoing guidance and love. Preface. If you're taking the time to listen to this preface, many habitually skip right to the meatier sections, then you and I are already simpatico. I would never skip the preface either. To me, it offers a tiny opportunity to know the author more deeply, and knowing someone deeply is about my favorite thing ever. We are embarking on an adventure together, so I appreciate that you'd want to have this early chance to forge our connection. I wrote this book because I couldn't not. I've been blessed with some extraordinary understandings, and I'm so bursting with these blessings that it physically hurts me to not share them. For several decades now, my existence has been organized around teaching the spiritual and energetic truths that transformed my life, because once your life has been transformed like this, there is simply no other use of your time that feels remotely meaningful. Like many of us, I did not come from circumstances optimal for conditioning a human toward a joyful existence. I was born in a deep vibration of shame, internalized messages of worthlessness, and created an adult life anchored in those beliefs. I knew how to make it all look pretty on the surface, as many of us do, but there was no authenticity or depth, and no awareness that it could be any different. I started glimpsing the truths I'm about to reveal to you several decades ago, but it took years to integrate and solidify them, and even more years to begin teaching them, first through workshops in schools and other venues, and eventually through my live and online Joy School programs. I mention this because I realize that a profound and lasting life transformation is not the kind of thing that happens in a weekend workshop, or from listening to that podcast, or reading that one book, or those 20 books for that matter. Each of these vehicles can provide valuable openings and frameworks, but as you'll discover when we begin our journey, they are only pointers revealing what's possible. Learning a thing isn't living it, as convenient as that would be for us learning lovers. Learning joy is a path of doing. Walking a path means putting one foot in front of the other foot again and again. I knew I must provide you with such a path because I've learned from experience that with the right guides and teachers, each step on that path moves you closer to a destination many barely believe is possible, an authentic, sustainable, joyful existence. The path ahead of you requires action on your part, and it is out of that action that your life will be transformed. I've had countless cherished guides and teachers who have walked me down this path, and you'll notice them woven throughout this book, often in their own words. I owe these teachers, many of whom have become my closest friends, everything. It's because they chose to devote themselves to raising awareness of these principles that I've been able to do the same. Thanks to their example and the generous sharing of their wisdom, I've created for myself a life of service that is joyful beyond anything I could have imagined. I encourage you to follow up with them via the Joy Kit available at lisamccourt.com. I created this online Joy Kit to give you easy access to all the light bringers I mention in this book, as well as many other related resources. You may have heard, the path is not a straight line, it's a spiral. Becoming a deeply joyful human doesn't mean you won't have any more bad days, but once you learn to ride the consciousness spiral upward, you'll begin to appreciate even the challenging periods as ripe opportunities for exhilarating growth. Just in the past few years, I've faced devastating heartbreak with members of my family of origin, setbacks in helping my precious transgender daughter navigate her way in a world that is still horrifically cruel to ones as brave as she, and other difficulties that would seem to be thieves of joy. Using the tools you're about to learn, I have transformed each of these challenges into invaluable opportunities for expansion and personal upleveling, to the extent that I'm truly, deeply thankful for them. I share this in case you're feeling like joy is the exclusive domain of those problem-free people out there. Let me know if you find one. To be clear, joy is not a thing I'm going to help you create, chase, or manifest. It's already here. It's who you are once you're free from all the obstructions that routinely block you from experiencing that truth. It's the step-by-step identification and gentle removal of these obstructions that I'm offering you in our upcoming time together. As the obstructions are revealed and dismissed, your inner landscape is transformed, which then, in turn, transforms your outer landscape. In a recent meditation with my Joy Schoolers, lovely Sonia saw an image of a person encased in a suit of armor that resembled reptile scales, with the scales falling away one by one to reveal the tender, limitless human underneath. That's how this journey feels. When I was pregnant with my first baby, I wrote a children's book called I Love You, Stinky Face. I wrote it because I was steeped in personal growth work at the time and starting to understand the crippling limitations inherent to unhealed trauma from buried beliefs of core unworthiness. I felt an overwhelming desire to save future precious beings from that egregiously common fate, so I wrote a book for parents to read to their offspring that I prayed would let these fresh humans feel deep in their bones how inherently lovable and valuable they are, no matter what. The child in my belly when I wrote that book is my now adult, beautiful, and perfect transgender daughter. No coincidences in this wily universe. Along with its 9 sequels, it sold many millions of copies in the ensuing decades, and my fierce dedication to helping tender souls of all ages experience their wildly unlimited, joyful nature and inherent wonderfulness has only deepened since then. It's fueled many books like this one and many iterations of my workshops, radio shows and podcasts, and Joy School trainings ever since. I wrote this book because I know what it takes to create a life of peace and joy despite it all, and I desire that for you with every cell of my being. Darling, adored listener, joy is nothing more than the comprehensive revelation of who you truly are. Shall we get started? Introduction. I never suspected that I would have to learn how to live, that there were specific disciplines and ways of seeing the world I had to master before I could awaken to a simple, happy, uncomplicated life. Dan Millman. These are strange days. Our commitment to staying centered, loving, and peaceful is being challenged at every turn. Don't you wish you had a manual for not only surviving these challenging times, but transmuting them into fuel for exhilarating expansion and positive transformation? Hey, look at that. Now you do. Well manifested. Good on you. We all want peace. We all want a life of joy and meaning. We want to feel blissfully comfortable in our own skin, moving through the world with grace and ease. But how many of us are actively taking the steps to create such a life? This is your opportunity to master these skills. You're embarking on an internal and external journey of shedding everything you're not to uncover the joyful truth of who you are. I've structured this journey with the intention that you'll spread it out over the course of a year. Naturally, I can't enforce this suggestion, so it will be up to you to set the pacing that's most effective for you. You'll be raising your personal vibration and improving your emotional health by practicing simple, pleasurable, mostly, techniques that brighten your experience of each day. With every step in our journey, you'll feel more relaxed and positive, notice more balance and ease in your life, and manifest more of the things you desire. Whether you're starting from an all-time low point or just wanting to expand your already impressive capacity for living beautifully and meaningfully, these time-tested practices will quickly and consistently improve your ability to cultivate more aliveness, enthusiasm, and vitality in every area of your life. Deep and lasting change is as simple as changing your vibrational address, and that's what we're about to do. Weekly suggestions and instructions for daily practices will transform your current default settings into constructive, beneficial new habits, with each step in the 12-month journey building upon the previous step's foundation. These practices have been strategically designed to reinforce and solidify the most tried and true happiness principles found in ancient wisdom traditions, as well as cutting-edge discoveries in the fields of psychology and science. Personal growth doesn't have to be monotonous, arduous work. It can and should be a gentle, self-loving, continual unfolding of your authentic essence. Poet and philosopher Henry David Thoreau said, "As a single footstep will not make a path on the earth, so a single thought will not make a pathway in the mind. To make a deep mental path, we must think over and over the kind of thoughts we wish to dominate our lives." This is the magic of the path you'll traverse. This is how the most profoundly effective life upgrade principles become solidified as your default method for creating and experiencing your existence. You'll discover the powerful distinction between learning a life-changing concept or modality and mastering it. Your life will be upgraded in two supremely valuable ways. First, you'll learn the art of genuine happiness, a rare skill most of us were never taught, and why it truly has little to do with your external circumstances. And second, because having desires and bringing them to fruition is a super fun thing we humans came here to do, you'll also learn how to get all those external circumstances you're after. The combination of this internal and external journey is powerful beyond anything you're likely imagining. It is pure magic. I've used this magic to make my life amazing. I've used it to manifest love, money, beautiful surroundings, book sales in the millions, a deeply fulfilling career, a meaningful volunteer position contributing to my community, and countless other external realities I'm blessed to relish. But much more importantly, I wield these magic tools to shape and maintain my inner landscape. It's the inner landscape that determines the external one, darling listener, but only every time. How did I build up this magic toolbox? First, through lots and lots of learning from pure, authentic masters of such things, but also with tears and blood and sweat, mostly the metaphorical kind, but no less gruesome. The culmination of all this is that I burst at the seams with desire to share the magic that has allowed me to recalibrate my set point for joy. Sharing this magic is what perpetuates my own joy after all. And the good news is by now I've figured out how to skip most of the blood, sweat, and tears. At Joy School, we define joy as living in full accordance with our true inner being. It's important to recognize that you are joy at your core. You came here as joy. The only reason you're not experiencing a deep sense of inner bliss and wellness in every moment is that you've got some stuff between your day-to-day you and your true inner self, your inner being that is joy. We're going to clean all that up together. We're going to bring it up into the light, call it out for the flimsy nonsense it is, and let it go. Joy is your birthright, and cultivating your own joy is the most unselfish, kind thing you can do for everyone around you and for the world. So if you've come here with any niggling little concerns about whether or not you even deserve to invest this bit of effort each week into raising your personal vibration, please, darling, let's set that aside. Your partner is tired of you looking to him, her, them for your joy. Your friends, your kids, your parents, none of them need the burden of contributing to your happiness. Happiness is 100% an inside job, and when you're taking care of yours, you have so much more to give to everyone around you. Everyone whose life you touch, from your inner circle to the kid making your deli sandwich, will have a better day when you are full from the inside, radiating that energy out around you, beaming it all over them. You're freaking sunshine lighting up their lives. Sound good? Our feelings aren't the problem. Fluctuating emotions are unavoidable in this human adventure we've all opted to take, but they don't have to lead to suffering. Our suffering comes not from the emotions themselves, but from our resistance to them. Our feelings aren't the problem. It's the relationship we've established with our feelings that depletes our joy. And to step it back even further, we think it's those things happening out there that create that bad feeling inside us, or that wonderful feeling, depending on what's happening out there. But the energetic truth is that what's going on inside you, what I like to call your inner landscape, is what's determining your external landscape. But only every time. Every single thing that's happening out there, every bit of it originated in here. Okay, you can't see my hands, but I'm waving my hand out in front of me when I say out there, and I'm pointing to my heart when I say in here. See, now it's like we're sitting here at my table having coffee together. I know these are some big kind of woo-woo statements. Maybe you're already of that ilk and that's how you found me. But if you're not, can you just hang in here with me for a bit? I promise there's a chance I can turn you. I don't have enough fingers and toes to count on them, the skeptics who have come into my joy trainings with a far less expanded viewpoint than the one they currently subscribe to. And that comes with a huge up level to the joy. There's real hardcore science behind all of this, and I'll be sharing bits of it along our journey together. I was talking about vibration with one of my podcast guests recently, and she made a cool analogy about flying. You know how when the plane is flying at a lower altitude, it's likely to be bumpy with lots of turbulence? But when a plane's flying at a higher altitude, it's smooth, stress-free, getting you where you want to go at top speed. Same for how we travel through life here. When our vibe is low, meaning we've got a lot of stress, anxiety, lethargy, or frustration pulling our personal vibration down, we'll get to our destination eventually, probably, but it'll be slow, uncomfortable, bumpy going with a little juice splashed on our shirt. When we take the time and effort to elevate our vibration, it's smooth, pleasurable, and we get where we want to be much faster. This adventure will be about sustainably raising your vibration to fly at that higher altitude. It's accomplished through commitment to installing new habits. Over time, these tiny daily decisions become full-blown, easy default patterns as the old falls away to make room for the new. The transformation shows up in all external areas, relationship, career, money, but most importantly, it shifts your inner landscape, the way you view and speak to yourself with that voice in your head. Imagine you're making soup, and you've heard about this best, most delicious soup recipe ever, and you're following the recipe, and you see that it insists you need to hold the spoon in your left hand to stir the soup. You think that's crazy, but the recipe says this is what makes all the difference, so you do it, even though it feels weird and you're rolling your eyes about it. Later, you eat the soup, and it is indeed the best soup you've ever had. You chuckle at the thought that stirring it with your left hand could have made any difference. But the next morning, you're getting your coffee, and you playfully think, I wonder what would happen if I stirred it with my left hand. So you do, and the coffee does seem to taste extra amazing that morning. Later that week, you're making oatmeal, and you think briefly about stirring it with your left hand. But you're in a hurry, and as the thought passes through your mind, you immediately dismiss it. You decide the soup had to have been that good because of the ingredients. The coffee the next day was probably just your imagination, and it was crazy to think the stirring hand had anything to do with it. And soon you're back to doing everything with your right hand because it just feels more natural, and it was starting to take a lot of effort to notice and switch hands, and it was probably all hooey anyway. This is human nature. This is what happens to most of us when we try to put some new weird feeling habit into our lives. How many times have you started a new practice like mindfulness or healthful eating or meditation or personal boundary setting or fill in the blank? Even when we recognize that we get good results, our default programming is so strong that most of us lapse back into our comfortable, familiar routines. It's okay. We're human creatures, every one of us. Our habituated ways of doing things aren't even apparent to us. They've become the water we swim in. We hear people say we're at choice, and we assume that on some level that must be true, but in the thick of things, it doesn't feel that way. It just feels wrong to stir soup with your left hand. But guess what? People can change their hand dominance. It's been done millions of times by regular human beings. If you had a reason to, you could get just as proficient with your left hand as you are with your right hand, or vice versa if you're a lefty. All it would take is dedication and practice. If you were going to attempt to change which hand is your dominant one, the first thing you'd need to do throughout your day is notice when you're using your right hand. All those tiny moments, opening a door, scratching your head, when you, without thinking, use your right hand to do something instead of your left. Noticing those moments, becoming the observer, would be the first step. It's the first step in changing your default thinking, too. We're not going to change your hand dominance. We're going to change your thought pattern dominance. You have default ways of thinking that are lowering your vibration and keeping you from living as the joyful creator you naturally are at your core, your true essence, your soul being. It's not an overnight process to go from one habituated thought pattern to another, but it also doesn't have to be unpleasant, exhausting work. It can even be joyful when we take our time and know how to hold the right kind of faith in the process. This is what we'll be doing together. You'll change these habits by introducing home play into your life each week. Home play is my name for the doing suggestions that will go along with the theme of each of the 12 keys to sustainable happiness. It's up to you, of course, how much you decide to throw yourself into your home play, but it's important to understand that it's the doing of joy practices that elevates your vibration, not the reading about them, not the learning, not going on that weekend retreat or taking that online workshop. Those are cool parts. Those can give you a temporary lift and some glitzy aha moments. But it's the repetitive doing right there in the thick of your regular life that changes the sustained default setting on your energetic state. In Joy School, we call this ongoing default setting your joy set point. Every one of us has this set point, a spot of homeostasis where our joy comes to rest. We might get it bumped up here and there. We might feel it dip down here and there. But there's a level of overall baseline happiness that feels natural to us, and that's where we're going to continue to level off until we learn the skills for sustainably elevating that set point. I cannot overstate how powerful these home play processes will be for you. There are 12 keys to unlocking joy that you'll be exploring. Each is presented in its own chapter with the intention that you spend a full month practicing each key before moving on to the next. Of course, I have no way of enforcing this pacing. It is simply a suggestion to allow optimal integration. Each chapter will introduce you to that month's vibration elevation focus, along with instructions for 4 different week-long home play practices that go with the theme. Most months do not have precisely 4 weeks, so you're invited to be loosey-goosey and follow your own intuition when planning your month around these practices. One of the keys you'll be mastering is flexibility, so this is a chance to practice that. You'll use any extra days of that month as additional practice time for whichever home play suggestions felt most meaningful to you during the preceding weeks, or you might decide to combine them all. Please do not ever feel that the end of a week or a month means you should discontinue the practices you've been focused on. My hope is that every one of them will become a regular part of your life. When you see how powerful they are, I'm sure you want that too. Why a year? You might be anxious to get your joy on and be wondering, why a year? I've spent my entire adulthood learning deep spiritual truths that have the power to dramatically change lives and then teaching those truths in myriad ways. I can't tell you what a passion and calling this is for me. I wake up every day feeling wildly blessed to have been able to structure a fine career around these passions. And here's the realization that has sunk in along the way. I used to think my foremost goal was to find ways to save you time and effort in your spiritual journey. I truly believed if I could just gather up all the pieces and sift out the most amazing nuggets and offer these nuggets up to you all polished and artfully assembled through my Joy School or through my podcast or my books, that I could save you the years of trial and error, 1 step forward, 2 step back frustrations that defined my own journey. I was right, but only to an extent, because this is just simply not fast work, sweet listener. Integration takes time, and there's nothing that can be done about that. I can promise you beyond any doubt that if you embark on the journey I'm laying out for you with sincerity, commitment, and a genuine desire to live more joyfully, these steps will result in a dramatically elevated joy set point 1 year from now, and you'll see beautiful, notable effects all along the way. But I don't advise trying to rush the process. If I could have authentically written a book promising a sustainably elevated joy set point in 1 month, I would have done it. But I've been in this field long enough to know what works, and I really want you to have what works. Changing long-held, deeply ingrained habits is completely doable, but only when a realistic time frame is applied to that goal. You'll be offered many tools as we move along together, and some will resonate more than others. There's a rule of thumb in personal growth work that says the suggestions to which you initially feel most resistant are usually the ones that will yield you the greatest results. There's truth to that, yet one of the things you'll be working on is developing a heightened connection and trust with your own intuitive guidance. Therefore, my bottom line advice is to trust your own sense of what will be most meaningful for you, while keeping in mind that it might be the activities to which you feel the most resistance. You'll be learning ways to discern the voice of your true inner knowing from the other voices in your head. But for now, whenever you feel resistance to something I'm suggesting, Begin the practice of putting your hand to your heart and asking, is this resistance coming from my highest inner knowing? Then openly, honestly sense the answer. It's a simple practice, but you'll be surprised at how reliable and powerful it can be when you've honed it for a while.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?